By the way, I will be coming back afterwards, so if you've got any questions, you can grab me when I come back. Okay, can you hear me inside, first of all? Okay, good. Now, notice as I suggested that the godwits have decided to move off. They'll come back in the fullness of time, but they just moved off for the moment. Now, when I feed, very quickly you'll notice there's a sort of order of events. And the first bird that comes to be fed every time are these guys, the mute swans. They're the largest of the UK swans, live between 20 and 25 years. As you can see, have orange bills, and at the top of their bill, if you look carefully, there's a black lump, which is their caruncle. And a relatively simple way, when you see a pair of swans, of identifying the male is that, as with all things wonderful, the men have got bigger caruncles than the ladies. Anyway, they are UK residents, so the mute swans that you see will be local to Welney. They have a territory of around about 5 to 10 kilometres. So many of the birds that you see now will nest with us, will stay with us, and spend their life with us. They mate for life, as I'm sure you all know. They are, as are all swans, relatively aggressive, but sadly, mute swans in particular have a habit that creates a very bad reputation. And if you live locally, you'll be familiar with the Asbro swans. Birds have come into contact with man and have had to be moved on. There's a few things I would say. First of all, let's all remember who was actually here first. Particularly on the cam, when the rowers are going along and the birds. Anyway, I'm sure you know where I'm coming from with this one. Unfortunately, these guys don't help themselves because they have a habit which is unique to mute swans. And this we refer to as busking. And when you see a swan doing this with his wings, so forming an M shape with his wings, and at the same time, instead of using his webbed feet like this, as is normal, using it like this, so jerking as they come towards you, that's busking, and basically the message is, get out of my way, I don't like you where you are. It is unique to mute swans. The hoopers and the Buicks don't do it. And it's a territorial issue. They don't like the fact that you're coming into their territory, which I suppose is understandable. But these guys, they know the ropes. They're quite, I won't say tame, but if I were to move my trolley nearer towards them, my barrow nearer towards them, this one in particular, he'd come and eat out of the barrow, and he's not embarrassed, he'd come and eat out of my scoop. When the water levels are high, so we're in dry suits, they will literally just put their heads in the barrow, because they have no fear, you're down at their level. All mute swans come under the ownership of the monarch of the day, and once a year this is exercised on the Thames when currently the Queen sends a team of guys onto the Thames for a tradition known as swan upping, when they check the number of swans on a specific area of the Thames and check their well-being. I do believe there is also another ancient rule where there's a college in Cambridge, and I believe it's St John's, where they are allowed to eat swans. I don't think they ever exercise it, but they do have this rule. So, other things about mute swans, they are the largest of our UK swans, and in the corner of the observatory there are 3 white sacks to give you indicative weights of the 3 types of swans, and you'll notice straight away that the mute swan is the heavier. They live 20 to 25 years, they mate for life. Swan Lake was a valley around which the mute swan was a sort of fat background. And if you haven't seen them, you'd be walking around with your eyes open because they're everywhere in the UK. However, the guys with the yellow bills at the back, one just here, they're not UK residents. There we go, I'll show you that one there. They come from Iceland, and they're called hoopers, and that's spelled W-H-O-O-P-E-R. They tend to arrive September, October time, and they will leave March, April time. They'll all be gone by April. They fly to the UK non-stop from Iceland. Their journey time is between 36 and 48 hours. Their flying height is totally dependent on the weather. So if the weather is bad, they will fly 10 to 20 metres above sea or ground level. The reason behind that is they can then put down either on the sea or on the ground if the weather becomes too much for them. If the weather is fine, they will fly at airliner height. And it is not uncommon for airline pilots to report flocks of migrating hoopers flying from Reykjavik when they're flying from Reykjavik to Heathrow. How do you tell them apart from the mutes? Well, straight away the colour of their bill. We refer to the yellow on their bill as having a wedge of cheese. So it's a dominance of yellow on their bills. They're slightly smaller than the mute swans. They are incredibly noisy birds.